Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's tutorial is on how to make this trendy Ankara baggy pants with elastic waist and drawstring. It also has side front pockets. If you'd like to see how I made this, please watch to the end of this tutorial. Please, if you're here to subscribe to this channel, click on the subscribe button to subscribe and don't forget to like this video. For this project, I used 3 yards of this beautiful Ankara fabric and I folded the front into two. I have 17 inches on fold and I folded using half of my thigh circumference plus extra 4 inches. The thigh circumference I'm working with is 26, so half of it is 13 plus extra 4 inches. I've ruled out a start line which is also my waistline. So from that line I'm going to measure my crotch depth, which is 10.25 inches. To that I'm going to add extra half inch for joining allowance because I'll be joining a waistband to the waistline. Okay, so I usually get my crotch depth by dividing the hip circumference I'm working with by 4. So whatever I get, I use as my crotch depth. So from the start line I'm also going to measure the length of the trouser I'm working with, and I'm using a length of 38 inches. To that I've added extra 2 inches for hemming. So on the crotch depth line, I'm going to come inward from the open part of the fabric by 2.75 inches. I'm also going to impute this same measurement on the waistline. So this is for the crotch extension, and I usually get my crotch extension by subtracting quarter of the hip measurement from half of the thigh circumference. Okay, so I subtracted and this is what I got, and that is what I'm using for my crotch extension. Okay, so I'm going to come upward by 2 inches from the crotch depth line and then connect it to the tip of the crotch extension like this. Okay, so that's it for the front crotch extension. Then on the waist I'm going to come inward. I just want to shape the waist a bit by 1.5 inches. This is optional. You can decide to leave it as it is since there's going to be elastic at the waist, but I decided to shape it a bit to give it a bit of a shape. Okay, so that's what I've done here. So I'll go ahead and cut out. We are done with drafting the front part. I'll also split this folded part. Okay, so for the back I folded even a larger fabric. The back unfold should be 3 inches bigger than what you have on the front part, and at the top you should have at least 1.5 inches more than what you have for the waist. Okay, you can see that I have some inches more than what I have on the waist. So from the waist of the front I would go up by 1.5 inches. So if you're much bigger than the hip circumference I'm working with, you can decide to go up by 2 inches. Okay, on the waist I'm taking my sewing allowance, which I didn't do in front, 2 inches, and on the hip line, which is 2 inches above the crotch depth line, I also added 2 inches. And for the back crotch extension, I'm using the whole 3 inches for my back crotch extension, and you've seen how I've connected the 2 inches I measured on the hip. I curved it to the crotch extension for the back, and for the front, like I said, I went for the back I went up by 1.5 inches because of the butt rise. There is the butt at the back, and I connected to the side. Okay, so the side for both the front and the back are the same. Then from the crotch depth down for the back, you can decide to take 2 inches sewing allowance, but I want this big, so I'm going to leave the whole 3 inches for my sewing allowance. I'll be sewing with 1 inch allowance. Okay, so I'm going to leave it as it is. And when you place your front, please let the side of the front and the back should be together. Okay, just like I did for this place. I'll go ahead and cut this out. Okay, so when I cut out, I'll also split the sides of the back so you can see what I have. I've already cut it out, and this is just it for cutting this baggy pants. So now for the back piece, I'll just join the crotch this way with 1/2 inch, right sides facing each other. I'll sew the crotch. Then for the front, I'm going to be attaching my pockets to them. So I've folded the fabric for the pocket into two. The right side is folded in, and I have a width of 7.5 inches and a length of 12 inches. Okay, and I have two pieces of these pockets, okay, of the fabric for the pocket. So I'm going to bring the front part the way I cut it, okay, the front part of the trouser. I'm making sure that they're equal like this. So I've placed my pocket pieces equal. So watch what I'm doing. The folded part of the pocket pieces are inward and the open part are outward, okay. So you see how I place them. So I'm going to trim it out. This excess, I'm trimming it so that you take the form or the shape of the front, okay, by the side. So that's what I'm doing like this. I'm just trimming out this excess so that the pocket pieces take the form or the shape of the front part, okay. So after doing that, I'm going to bring out my pocket pieces and open them right side to right side. I'm placing them right side facing each other. They are open now. So now I'm going to mark my pocket opening on the front part. The two parts of the front are together. So I've measured 3.5 inches by 7 inches. 3.5 inches by 7 inches, and I'm connecting these 2 points. So after connecting this, I'm going to bring my pocket pieces that I've already opened, okay. So I want to cut both the pocket opening and the opening on the pocket pieces at the same time, so they are still placed together equal. I'm placing it, just see how I placed them. They are not folded this time around, it's just open right side to right side. The same with the front part of this pant. So I've placed it this way so that the sides are matching and the top parts are matching. You see what I have. Now I'm going to cut out. After making sure they are matching, I won't cut on this line that these measurements I've taken. I'm going to come out by 1/2 inch, okay, so that when I cut on this 1/2 inch I came out by, after sewing it will fall back to 3.5 inches by 7 inches. So that's why I came out. So I'm going to cut on this part, that is, I've added sewing allowance to this. So that's what I'm doing. So after cutting it out, I'm going to bring my pocket pieces out and then fold them back how it's supposed to be. So this is how each pocket piece should be, all right, like this, okay. So what I'm going to do now is to go and sew the crotch for the front with 1/2 inch like I've done for the back. So I've sewn the crotch and this is what I have. So please, after sewing, make sure you iron your seam open so it relaxes very well. So it's time to attach the pocket pieces, all right. So I'm going to bring each side and check which side is corresponding to which, place them properly. So this is how it's supposed to be after sewing. So what I'm going to do now is to bring out this like this and open it right side, okay, that's cut part, right side to right side of the pants, and sew with 1/2 inch and then notch this way, okay, notch the seam you've made. So after notching it out, turn it this way and iron properly. After ironing, I'm going to then top stitch the pocket with the pants together with 1/2 inch, okay. So on this side I've already done that. I've top stitched this, okay. So after doing that, what I'll do next now will be to close the pocket. Remember, the pocket was on fold and one part was cut out for the pocket opening, so I'm bringing it together this way, okay. So you see what I'm demonstrating. Just bring the two pieces together, see, close them together and sew with 1/2 inch the open part like this, 1/2 inch together. See, sew them together, set them close, and then attach this top to the pants and this side to the pants. That's just what you do for the pockets. So I've done that for the two sides. So you can see the pocket pieces are now ready. Everything is now joined, okay. So after doing this, I'm going to bring the back and then close up this trouser. So I'm going to place them right side to right side, right side to right side. Then I will sew the sides first. Remember that the back piece is bigger than the front piece, so that's why you're going to sew the sides together, pull them to meet each other, all right. The front and the back should meet each other at the side, and sew with 1 inch sewing allowance, okay. At the sides, sew with 1 inch sewing allowance. So that's what I'm going to do. So arrange them. After that, I'm going to sew the inseam. Make sure the crotch matches like this, and then sew from one crotch down to the leg, and from the other one I sewed with 3/4 inch, all right. So after sewing, this is what I have. So at this point, I'm going to measure what I have on the waist circumference, so that I would know what to cut out for the band. So starting from the front, center front, the crotch in front, I'm measuring round. I'm going to measure round and get to the point where I started the measurement from. So I'm going to measure all around to determine what I'll cut out. So when I measured, I had 52 inches for the round circumference. So I've cut out my band. Okay, so the band I cut, I want the height of my band to be 1.5 inches. Okay, so that means everything I cut out was 4 inches, which I folded into 2 and then folded the edges half inch inward. And for the width of this band, I cut out 52 inches plus extra 2 inches. That's 54 inches. That's the width I cut out for the band. All right, so I'm using a 1-inch elastic waistband, and I cut out my elastic. I cut 30 inches. I subtracted 1 inch from my waist measurement because this elastic isn't actually stretching much. If yours is stretching much, remove 2 inches from what you have as your waist circumference. So as you can see, I added extra 2 inches to what I had as my waist circumference on the pants to this band. So I'm going to attach the band. What I'm going to do now is to start attaching. I'm going to attach from the right side. Okay, I'm going to place my band on the right side. I'm sewing from the right side. Okay, so and I will be starting at the front crotch. Okay, that center front, the joining on the center front. Okay, so for the band, I'm going to leave out 1 inch before I start sewing. So I'm taking off 1 inch before I start pinning all round. I'll pin all round and then sew with ½ inch sewing allowance. So I've done that. I've sewn all round. Okay, and I've gotten to where I started from. So you can see that I have excess on both sides of the band. That's because I added extra 1 inch 2 inches to that. So now I'm going to close this. Okay, so watch what I'm going to do. At this point, I left quarter inch on this side before the crotch center front. Okay, so what you see, the reason why I did that. Now I'm going to close up this band. I'm going to close it up. So I'm going to open up all these folded points, the parts I folded in for as allowance. So I'm going to close this up. So watch what I'm doing. So from the parts I've sewn, remember I said I left quarter inch before and after when I was sewing the band to the crotch. So I'm going to measure out quarter inch this way. Okay, so at that quarter inch I measured out, I'm going to start sewing to close up my band. Watch what I'm doing. I'm going to sew 3/4 inch. After sewing 3/4 inch, I would leave a space of 1 inch and then sew the rest up close. I'll sew close the remaining parts. Okay, so I'll explain again. I'm going to sew 3/4. I measure 3/4. I'll sew 3/4 like this. Then I'll leave a space of 1 inch this place and then sew up the remaining parts. So I've done that. You can see what I have. You can see my I'm trimming out the excess I have, so you can see my stitch. Okay, so I left out 1 inch. You can see my hand is passing through the hole I made. So what I'm going to do now will be to close up this quarter inch I left on both sides of the crotch. All right, I'm going to sew it close like this. Okay, then after sewing, I'm going to open up this seam, this hole like this seam. I'm going to top stitch all around like this. Okay, so I will do that and show you the next step. So as you can see, I've closed up that point and I've already top stitched around the hole I made. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to fold, use the other seam allowance to close up the first stitch. Okay, so I've done that. I've closed up the way we normally attach our band, so the band is neatly finished. You can see that the waist is neatly finished. So what I'm going to do now is that hole I made is for passing this the elastic, okay, as well as the drawstring. So I've used a safety pin to hold my elastic on one end, so I'm going to pass it through that opening. Okay, remember that opening is 1 inch. Okay, so it would enable me pass my elastic. Okay, my elastic is a 1 inch elastic, so I'm just passing it all through. So as I'm passing, I'll make sure that the other end doesn't follow through doesn't follow as I'm pulling. Okay, so I'm just going to pin it down this way so I don't mistakenly drag it in. Okay, so that I don't just keep going in circles. So I'm going to pull and pull and pull till I get to the other end. Then I'm going to bring the two of them together. Okay, like this. Right, I'm going to bring them together. Then I'm going to sew like 3-4 times on this elastic. Okay, so after sewing, I'm going to then take this in, okay, and spread the evenly spread the fabric on the waist part so that everything is evenly spread. Next thing I'll do will be to top stitch at the top part of this band. I'm going to measure 1/4 of an inch. At 1/4 of an inch, I will top stitch. As I'm top stitching, I'll be spreading out so that my fabric is not packed at one point. I'll also top stitch from the down part of the band. I'll come up by 1/4 of an inch and also top stitch. So I've done all that. I've top stitched on both ends of the band. Now I've used my fabric to make a very long strip. I think it's about 60 inches. All right, the width of this fabric. Right, I did. The length is 50 inches long. It's 50 inches long. So I'm going to pass it through the same place I passed my elastic from. Okay, that hole in front. So after passing, I'm making sure they're equal in front, and I would also make sure it's evenly distributed so that they're equal at the front. And that's just it on how to make this baggy pants with pockets, elastic at the waist, and this drawstring. Okay, so you can tie it to your waist, okay, to your size. All right, so thank you guys for watching, and this is it on how to make this. Remember to hem the opening, the lower opening, right, the two openings. Remember to hem it. And thank you guys for watching. Please try yours and let me know in the comment section how yours came out. Don't forget to like this video, and see you next time. Bye.